Welcome back. Welcome back. Woo! Yeah, I'm excited too. All right. So I hope you had a great break. We've got a really exciting leadership-focused segment that's going to be taking place now, and it's my great pleasure to get to welcome to the stage Erik Anderson. Erik is the executive chairman of Singularity University. He is the founder and CEO of West River Group and the executive chairman of Top Golf Entertainment. He's going to set the stage for today's session and then also take you into sharing some of his own thoughts and insights. So with that, please join me in welcoming to the stage Erik Anderson.
How you doing?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Welcome back, I guess, and welcome to the leadership section. My name is Erik Anderson. I'm the executive chairman of Singularity University, and I'm excited to kick this off for you. For the remainder of this afternoon, we're going to focus on leadership. Now, this means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, so there is no right answer. There's some good principles, and I think you're going to get some exciting perspectives on that today. I'll be excited to share my perspective on some of the insights and the work that have, I guess, propelled either my career or my way of thinking here, and some of the work we've been doing together here at Singularity. You're going to hear some from leading thinkers in this area, people like Nick Davis, John Hagel, Charlene Lee, Ricardo Vargas, Lisa Solomon, and David Roberts. My hope, expectation actually, is it'll leave some new ways about thinking about leadership for the 21st century. And from that point of view, we're excited to share this with you. Now, my part of this world is called model thinking. Now, if you came around Singularity or any company where I spend time, you might actually get tired of that word. There's some of my colleagues in the stage and they'll laugh because we start with models all the time. But why do we use a model? So we use a model as opposed to the word budget, which you'll learn that I hate, which is a way to organize our knowledge, which allows us to communicate and allows us to improve decision making. Too many of the things you'll see I find in leadership these days where there's lots of pressures on leaders to get sort of moved off their path and off of their big ideas. And when that happens, organizations get confused, we start thinking short term, and we're going to try to avoid that. So it all comes down to leadership and how models inform our voice and our thinking about leadership. So it's consistent, it's predictable, and it allows us, right, to keep a large group of people all over the world headed in the same direction. Now, what's a model? So a lot of people think it's a spreadsheet. We use spreadsheets, don't have anything against them. I don't use a lot of spreadsheets. I use a telephone, that's what they tell me. But we do a lot of use with that. But I start with the idea of what's the big picture when we're talking about models. And that's what you'll see on this slide a little bit on the left, which is the broad or the big picture. Everything starts with why. Vision, mission, purpose, things like that. Culture, everything I think revolves around culture. You have created your own great culture here. We have in the global community of Singularity. We've done it at Top Golf and other places. So we're always thinking about the culture. How do we treat each other? Where are we headed? Why are we doing what we're doing? Identifying these value propositions. Why is this important to somebody? A customer, a community. How does it have impact? Come down to design. All these big picture things. Lots of time spending on design. What you haven't heard yet is profitability, cost, all the things that you might start to wonder about. How does that show up in leadership? It shows up, but it's distant in a way. Important, but distant. Then we get into very specific ideas. Things which we're, of course, very used to. How does product market fit? Marketing. Revenue models, cost curves, all the things that ultimately drive to, we think about profitability, EBITDA in this world sometimes, then how much capital do we need? These form the foundations of model thinking. You've got some simple examples here. It's always good to reference point. It's like we're going to put up a store for 50,000 people, opens 20 stores a year, things which form the basis of this economic engine. What we're not talking about yet is it predictable? We're just saying these are the key elements that we're working with. Now, how do you create these models? This is actually a very important point in the work that we do at SU and that I'll suggest is the work that you'll do with your own companies or your own organizations. Everybody starts with experience, research, and data. So we do a lot of investigations. That makes sense. We talk about comparables. Has anyone else done things that look something like this? Another important element. But toward the end are my favorites. Do we actually have an insight? Do we have something we go, aha, we don't think anybody else has thought about this? Do we have something we're trying to accomplish? Aspiration, in my colleague Naveen Jain's world, would of course be the moonshot, right? We're going to go to the moon. It was a little scary for me to be in Peter's brain a little bit, or to actually possibly be, subscribing to Peter's brain. But we could think about that as an aspiration. And then imagination, right? What could it look like? One of my favorite quotes, the way we think about it, logic gets you a lot of places, but imagination, aspiration will take you everywhere. So this is a really important point in the beginning of model thinking in our leadership voice, which is imagination and aspiration. Well, what do we do when we have that? This is another really crucial idea that we've developed and we've worked with. We try to figure out, do we actually understand the elements we just talked about? Do we understand, for example, that if our marketing thing, or if we go out and we do our Twitter feeds, Instagram, however we bring these customers in, do we actually understand what that yield's going to be? Many times we don't understand things. That is an unnatural act in many corporate boardrooms, organization boardrooms, to admit that we don't have understanding or perfect understanding. Even if we have understanding, there's volatility, right? It may not work out the way we think it will work out, or there's actual volatility in the result, even if we understand it. I love utility. I like utility companies. Sometimes a simple example, they have weather. If you're hydro, if you're a farmer, right? You have your plan. If it doesn't rain, right, you don't have normal water, you get volatility. These two ideas actually often get confused. The kind of confusion I see, and you may have seen this, is that you come into whatever organization, review the quarter's numbers, and you've missed a number. And when you've missed a number, the first thing people say is, why did you miss your number? Right? Common thing, I don't know, it didn't rain. I guess that's why I missed my number. You have this challenge of making sure that organizations and leaders and that communication is very thoughtful about saying, we didn't understand it, so therefore it's hard to predict to begin with, or we even had regional understanding, but there's volatility. So you do not confuse, right, the miss, a good miss, yay, we give ourselves a big round of applause, or a bad miss, we think someone should, get fired or something. Don't confuse those two items. We actually create slides and things in the analysis inside our companies where when something happens, we actually, have a way of assessing that as a very powerful tool. When you have this set up as a model, the communication inside the leadership team goes something like this. So the first thing, you get a piece of some data, and you go, are we on model? Now, if you're on model, it's actually a pretty simple story at that point in time, right? It's like, okay, I hit our numbers, we're on model. Although on model's a little deeper than I hit my numbers. It would mean, right, that almost every element inside your models were on model. So that you didn't get a big plus here and a minus here and end up with a net effect. So it doesn't say, did I hit my EBITDA number or did I hit my revenue number? Did those numbers occur with the elements the way we thought they would? That's a very powerful question, and it is the first question. If it's not on model, we might have just made a mistake. That doesn't mean you should change the model, it just means we made a mistake. We move on. If we experience it, was it just volatility? It didn't rain. Again, no change to the model. Is the model correct? Did we actually learn something? This is the most important question in the leadership dialogue, in my experience. Is if we go through this, not on model, didn't make a mistake, do we actually want to change the model? Which is the most powerful thing actually we could almost do, and as an organization or as the leader, other than maybe changing the whole design of the company. And how long to get back on model, right? So the model's right, we made the mistake, how long does it get there? Now, what you shouldn't hear in this is the leadership voice or point of leadership, which is accusatory. Right? These are just honest answers and honest questions where we're trying to learn. where the team around the table is just saying, yeah, we made a mistake. Happens all the time, right? That doesn't mean the world has come to an end. It simply means we made a mistake. So the tone of the leadership voice and what we'll call the leadership community. The other word you haven't heard me use right now is CEO. I've been one of those. I've not been a CEO. Model thinking is not CEO-centric. It is a leadership idea. There's leadership energy. There are leadership teams. And it's a way to take that leadership energy in an organization, put it outside of individuals and ego, and look at it and communicate it on a very basic level all the time, over and over. Iteration is key. Faster cycles mean faster learning, right? This is the learning leadership model, learning leadership idea. It's not performance driven. In my opinion, this cycle drives performance. It drives learning, which drives you to the best outcomes that you can have. So we continually visit the model, find new insight, change, execute, over and over. When we built Topgolf, which is a company some of you may know about or have been to, we reviewed the model every week. Saturday, 6 a.m., great for me. My team was in Dallas, it was 8 a.m. from there, great clarity Saturday morning. And we simply said, where are we on the model? Not how we did, are we behind budgets, et cetera.